And there is a lot of talk about the Sentry. And a lot of the things that you will hear is that he is one of the most powerful characters in all of Marvel, which is true. You will hear that he's damn near unkillable, which is true. And you will hear that he has a lot of hacks, which is also true. But a lot of the things that y'all gonna hear about this man, especially about him basically being immortal, is not true at all. See, when it comes to Sentry, is he super fast, strong, durable, have a lot of powers? Yeah, he's got a lot of powers. But a lot of the powers that people are telling y'all he has are the voids. Now, why do I say that? Well, to understand the Sentry, we gotta understand that the Sentry and the void, kind of like Bruce Banner and the Hulk, one is always just gonna be there. And there have been times when he's gotten his life together and actually fused to become like a super version of himself. But the most important thing that you need to understand about the void itself specifically is that the void is literally an aspect of Null, the symbiote god. It might as well be part of Null's body. And why is that important? Because Null himself is an aspect of Oblivion, the cosmic entity that represents the end of everything, nothingness. So once you understand that the void equals Null equals Oblivion, this will make a lot more sense. So why am I saying that Sentry is not immortal? Well, it's because currently in comic, Robert Reynolds the Sentry is dead. Jane Foster as the Valkyrie has taken him to the afterlife. He even had a huge crisis about supposing to be like the big gun who was supposed to save Earth and just getting absolutely no diff, and how there was a whole lot of other things that he wanted to do in his life. And he eventually just had to let the idea of all that go and move on to the afterlife. So currently, Robert Reynolds the Sentry is dead. Dude was killed by Null, the symbiote god. So just off of that alone, we know that the Sentry himself, Bob Reynolds, is not immortal. Now the power itself, we'll get back to that later. Now, I want to look into a couple of the feats that a lot of people try to use to prove how powerful Bob is, because of a lot of it is really without context. Like his resurrection after being completely obliterated by Morgana Le Fay. She essentially wiped this dude out of the time stream. And at this moment, he basically reforms himself back. The reason I'm saying that this isn't just Bob doing this is because this is not Bob. Even though this is one of the only times we will see Bob, who is taken over by the Sentry, not with black and or yellow eyes, this is not Bob. And we know this because if you spend the time reading the next couple of panels, this man is sitting here trying to convince Bob that he is Bob because the void is not real. See, the thing about Norman Osborn is he's been trying to convince Bob Reynolds this entire time that the void is not real, even though he knows full well that the void is real. He didn't bring himself back. The void brought him back. But here's another example to lend more credence to that. We can look at after the Molecule Man completely disintegrated this man the first time, and he pulls all his molecules back. Look at him. That is the void. Nearly every time in comics, we see Bob Reynolds taken over by the void. His eyes are either solid yellow or all black, like this, the moment that he reformed himself. And we even can further that because his eyes are still black while he's doing all of this to the Molecule Man, letting us know this is Void doing this and not Sentry. Again, Void, more Void. And then it's 100% confirmed that it was the Void that brought him back, because when Miss Marvel says, "Oh, Sentry, you saved us," bro is like, "I did? What are you talking about? I don't remember none of that." And bro just dips out. Now again, I can already hear it, but Sentry and the Void are one. So, you know, if the Sentry was able to do it because if it was the Void's powers, then it's still technically his powers doing it. And that logic does make sense if we did not already know that the Void is literally part of Null, and Null is part of one of the most powerful cosmic entities in existence. And that's important because if you look at nearly any aspect of Oblivion, they cannot be destroyed. You might be able to stop them temporarily, take them out for a little bit, but they always just change form. We saw that with the most recent thing, the Black Winter. We thought that Thor ended up destroying it. We see it come back fused with something else facing off against Storm because it's an aspect of Oblivion. Oblivion cannot be destroyed, which is why it makes sense that he cannot be reality warped out of existence. It makes sense that he can come back from the time stream because you cannot kill Oblivion. It is the absence of everything. And because a being that is part of the absence of everything happens to be attached to this hero cannot die. But we see very clearly that when the void is removed from Bob Reynolds, the Sentry, he is very killable. As a matter of fact, he stays dead. Why? Because as powerful as the Sentry is, he's not immortal. But what about the power source? Because the power source of the Sentry, Bob Reynolds, has made its way back to the Marvel Comics landscape. We saw that in this 5-issue run by Jason Luke, where these 5 random people get the powers of Sentry. And I mean, as you expect, they're fast and strong. And when I say fast, I mean like gassing off on Captain Marvel fast. But the one thing that's still something that we do not see from the Sentry's power is resurrection. One of the cats who actually got the Sentry's power went around killing the other ones who got the Sentry's power. And they were not able to resurrect themselves. But I know that somebody's gonna bring up this scan where bro says, I have a little experience in resurrection or whatever. And then we clearly see all of the beings who the bad Sentry killed look like they come back to life, right? Well, we end up just finding out it's magic, constructs, which I will say one power that people say that Sentry has, he does have. Molecular manipulation. We know that for a fact because we see one of the Sentries before he gets murdered using what he calls molecular kinesis. But magic just rolls off the tongue better. So yeah, I mean, using reality warping, I guess he's able to create people, which is really, really cool. That's dope as hell. Can't take nothing from that. But a character with Sentry's power set does not have the ability to resurrect themselves. Because if they did, any of these guys would have been resurrected. So all that to say, am I trying to say that Sentry is not one of the most powerful characters in Marvel? No, that's not what I'm trying to say at all. Dude is a beast. He'll still rock a good amount of the characters out there in comics. But is the Sentry or someone with the Sentry's power just some unkillable dude who cannot be stopped? No. No, they aren't. Maybe once they actually get this whole thing going and we see what Shorty can really do with the Sentry's powers, after she learns, about them, maybe we can go that route. But in terms of just the Sentry's powers and abilities, no, he's not a immortal, unkillable being. The Void is a unstoppable, unkillable being because he is part of Null, who is part of Oblivion. Which is why it makes sense that, able to overpower characters like Molecule Man. But, that's just my little 2 cents. But how do you guys feel about it? Do y'all still feel like Sentry is that unkillable, unstoppable Superman copycat that could put Superman in the dirt? Let me know down in the comments. With that being said, I'm Amar Soti, and I'll catch y'all later.